Hello everyone, I'm Price, Senior Solution Architect at Bit, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up from beginning to end Bit's Git First workflow using GitHub. With this workflow, you can ship your Bit components without ever really having to touch the Bit CLI, but still giving your teammates all the incredible collaborative power of bit.cloud features. So I'm going to show you this in two parts. The first part is how to set up the flow, access tokens, and so forth, and the settings you need in GitHub and bit.cloud. And then the second part will be how to actually ship your changes to components to your users. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see on the screen, we have our documentation page. Here we can just download these files at the start of this. And we're going to go ahead and put those into an existing project. So in our workspace, we're going to create a new folder. We're going to name that .github/workflows. And then we can go to our files that we just downloaded, extract those, and now we can just take everything in that folder and drag it into the workflows folder. What you see might be a little different because as times change, the files might change, but just take everything in there and put it in this folder, and that's going to give you your entire setup beginning to end. Now, all we have to do at this point is change some access tokens and some configuration values in this file. So you can see that we need a user name, a user email, and a bit config token. Let's tackle the GitHub aspects first, and then we'll get to the bit config token. So what we're going to do for the GitHub items is we're going to go to our repository. We're going to go to settings, and then we're going to go to secrets and variables, actions, and in actions we'll have a section for repository secrets. That's where we want to put the tokens for this process. So you can see we already have one here, git username. That's what that will look like. Let's go ahead and create one for the user email that we still need. So we will do git user email, and we will type in our email. In my case, that's price@bit.dev, and add that. Now, back in here, you might see there's a GitHub token. That's provided by GitHub, so you don't actually have to add that yourself. Okay, now let's look at what we need to do to add our bit config token. Now, in your files, you'll probably see bit config user token, but there is another way to do this authentication, and that's what I want to show you how to set up right now. So bit config user token is going to be a token that you can use as an individual user. And to get that token, you would just do bit config in your CLI, and you would put that configuration token into GitHub. But for a team situation, you would actually want to use BitCloud access token in most cases. And I'm going to show you how to set that up now. So what we will do is change BitCloud access token, and we will actually have to do that in every folder. So bitconfig user token becomes bitconfig bitcloud access token. And to get that token, we're going to go back to Chrome, and we're going to go to bit.cloud. This is really the only part of the process where you'll have to go to bit.cloud in the setup. And we're going to go to our organization, whatever that is, and we will go to settings, and we will go to access tokens, and in here we can click create new. So we can just give this any name. We can just call this GitHub example, that's fine. And we need to give that right permissions. You can choose an expiration that makes sense for you and your team, and then select any scopes that are affected by this. So GitHub CI in our case. And now we can generate, and we will get a token with the handy option to copy right there. And with that, we will go back into GitHub actually. And here in our repository secrets, we will click New Repository Secret again, and we will do a bit cloud access token, just as we did in the IDE. Paste in that token that we got from bit.cloud, add secret, and we're done. We're all set up. Now all we have to do is make changes, push them, and the whole workflow will work. So now we can actually make changes to some code, and I'll show you what features you get using this flow. All right, I've hopped back into the IDE, and now we can actually make some code changes and ship those. So to begin with, I can show you the project we're working on, which is very simple. I have the dev server running here on localhost, and all we have is a button and a card, two different components. And if we look at the button, we will see that we've got this nice little green button. And let's say word has come down from on high that it needs to be a blue button instead of green. So let's go ahead and make and ship that change. So if we go back into the IDE, we will find our button component. We will open the component itself and the CSS that we have here, and we can just choose a blue color. This is one of my favorite shades somewhere in here, so we'll use that. And then we can choose a darker blue for hovering, perhaps. And while we're in here, maybe we can just change the radius a little bit, something like that. And if we go back to the browser, we'll see the change happen right away, because we do have hot module reloading and everything. So we can test out our change. We see that it does work. Awesome. How do we ship this? So if we go back to our IDE rather, then we see that we have that change, and all we need to do is a normal Git flow, really. We're going to create a branch, so git checkout, change button color, and we will make that branch, and then we will add our change, and we will commit we will just commit the change with a note, change button color to blue, and we commit that, and we push it to GitHub. We have to set the upstream. There we go, just like that. Now this by itself isn't going to do anything by default, but it will put it on GitHub, and it gives us the option to create a pull request, which is what we want to do next. So let's go ahead and create a pull request. And what this is going to do is, as soon as we hit create pull request, it's going to start an action that is going to send our change to bit.cloud, and it's going to create something called a lane where we can preview those changes. This gives us all kinds of really cool collaborative opportunities that I'm really excited to show you here. So let's go ahead and create our pull request, and it's going to take a minute for the actions to run. So I'm going to pause, and then we'll come back to it. All right, as expected, that action completed successfully. And I have to say, this is so cool to me, just personally, because I have to say, setting up CI stuff is not my fun as an engineer. It's just never been something I personally enjoy. And if you do, that's awesome. But this is already working. And thanks to really good work by my colleagues at Bit, this is so easy to set up that I really don't mind doing it. And we get so many cool things that now I get to show you. So if we look here, we got a comment on the PR with a link right to bit.cloud rather, and let's go to that. So in here, we can actually see the changes that we made before we actually ship them to our users. So if we go to the Changes tab, we can look at button, and we can, one, see a code differential, which is very much like what you'd see in a GitHub PR, but we can also see a change of the previews, and this is phenomenally useful in many setups. On the left here, we see the old green button, and on the right, the new blue button, and we can actually look at it dynamically with behavioral changes. Imagine this was something more complex, like a calendar or a header, something like that. where it's very easy to miss things that are wrong in a static format like Figma. But you see it dynamically, and there's all sorts of things that you need to look at there. And this is very useful for common engineering partners like design or product management, what have you. They can come in here and look at this and see, here's what's going to be coming in the next version. So you also have changes to dependencies. In this case, the card dependency changed because we changed the button, and the button is a dependency of the card. So we see that here. And then we can see any changes to the docs separately. We can also see any changes to the tests and whether or not they're running and working. And we also get this hash here. We can see that we have what we call a snap, and this essentially gives you a canary release that you can install and test just using your usual tools. If we go to the button, we go to import, you can see that you can bit install this component to this particular version, and any of your users can test that. So we've got a complete flow where we can go and look at our changes before we ship them, test them out. We didn't have to do anything with Bit. Now, all we have to do is release these. And we have the ability to do that. We have full CI/CD here. So how do we now release this to our users? And it's pretty much exactly what you would think. We just need to go back to GitHub and merge our pull request. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to merge this pull request. I'm going to pause because that action needs a minute to run, and then we'll see what happened. All right, our pull request has merged. Our actions have completed, and that means that we have shipped these changes to our teammates and to our users. Our teammates receive the changes via GitHub, and everyone receives the changes via bit.cloud, where if we go there, we see that these components have both updated from Semver 0.0.3 to 0.4 without us having to do anything. And now anyone who installs these components will have our new beautiful blue button. So I hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough of this process. I hope you find that it is very simple to set up. As I said, this is not something that is fun for me generally, but this is no problem for almost anyone to set up. And I really hope that you will see the opportunity that this gives your team in terms of collaboration. I will tell you, I've had a setup like this done twice before in my career, I want to say, in which you could preview your full push of a branch before usage, and it's a lot to maintain usually. And this you get for free, and it is so worth it. So I hope you'll use this flow. I hope you got a lot out of this process, and thank you for joining me on the exploration. Everyone have a great day. This has been Price. I'll talk to you again soon.